Welcome everybody, thank you for coming. In today's Dhamma talk, I'd like to introduce and talk about the 4 elemental qualities. These elemental qualities were introduced to me by my teachers, and they've been invaluable to my practice. Actually, sitting here now, my mind has been trained such that I just see these elemental qualities in everything. That's how important they are. Elemental qualities are a way of deconstructing the world or deconstructing our experience of the world. And this deconstructing, this pulling apart, allows us to develop understanding way beyond mere intellectual reasoning. Today we'll clarify what these elemental qualities are, because they're a very large part of MIDL. If you started your MIDL training, you're learning how to relax effort within your body in meditation skill number 1. You're also becoming very intimate with these elemental qualities. If you're up to meditation skill number 2, you're learning to relax effort within your mind. You'll also start to notice and observe these elemental qualities. In meditation skill number 3, mindful presence, these elemental qualities become a grounding point for the Goss formula and so on. And these elemental qualities continue all the way through mindfulness of breathing. And they're a very intimate part of transferring insight meditation practice into our daily life. Elemental qualities have a very special characteristic to them. That is that they're always present, here and now. And it's this presence of elemental qualities, the inability to experience them within the past and future, that makes them invaluable for the development of samatha, relaxation, calm, tranquility, and for vipassana insight. They also play an intimate part in the development of sila, morality, because we learn to notice when these elemental qualities change as a direct reflection to our state of mind and quality of heart. But I bet you're wondering what I'm talking about by elemental qualities. So let's start to unpack this now. I'm just going to read a section from the Satipatthana Sutta. So sati is mindfulness, and patthana is a foundation for cultivating mindfulness, or it can be translated as an area in which we apply mindfulness towards to develop insight. Okay. In the Satipatthana Sutta, after the mindfulness of breathing section and mindfulness of posture section, there's a section on the 4 elemental qualities. And the Buddha says, furthermore, just as a skilled butcher or their apprentice, having slaughtered a cow, would sit at a crossroads dividing it up into pieces to sell, in the same way the meditator divides experience within their body, regardless of their posture, regardless of activity, in terms of these 4 elemental qualities. Within the experience of this body, this is earth element, this is water element, this is fire element, and this is wind element. And so we'll start to look at those. There are many different interpretations of what these elemental qualities mean. And what I share with you today, I don't see mentioned in the suttas anywhere, but it's handed down from my teachers. Quite often when things are handed down, such as the 4 elemental qualities, it's important to understand when we hand down information over generations, we tend not to write down the history of or hand down what is obvious to us at the time. So during the Buddha's time, perhaps these 4 elemental qualities were obvious to them. It was so obvious that it didn't need to be explained. It didn't need to be handed down. So what I will do is share with you what my teachers told me, and also what accelerated my insight meditation practice, this understanding. Now, it's important to understand when we're practicing as insight meditators that we're not concerned with what things are. We're concerned with our experience of things. So I'm not concerned with thinking itself. I'm concerned with thinking or the experience of that thinking. I'm not concerned with my body as Stephen's body, but more I'm concerned with how do I experience this body? How do I experience love? How do I experience frustration? How do I experience doubt? How do I experience generosity, and so on? So all these things actually have a felt quality to them, something that we can experience. That experience makes them what they are. In the same way that if we saw an apple, we went to university and we studied apples, we would still have no understanding of apples until we bit into that apple, we tasted it, we experienced it. The word apple points towards the experience of an apple, not the idea of what an apple is. In the same way, all these different things that happen, like we hear a sound and it irritates us, we feel the flow of breath within our body during mindfulness of breathing. We feel frustrated about something, we get angry, we feel lonely, we feel generous, we feel empathetic and compassion. All of these have a felt experience, and that's what we're concerned with elemental qualities. So in this sutta, the Buddha said, in the same way the meditator divides experience in terms of the 4 elemental qualities. So let's define these elemental qualities as I experience them in my meditation practice, and I hope this will be helpful to you. Let's look at these words, earth element. To understand what the Buddha's pointing at, we need to understand the quality of these things. So what's the function of earth? So if we look now, the earth is supporting our body. Now, before I define these, it's important to clarify these are not elemental qualities as in shamanic practice, or elemental qualities as in the elements within Chinese medicine. This is more in terms of the elemental qualities in regards to the experience of an insight meditator, someone practicing Satipatthana Vipassana. Yeah? That's very important. So earth element has the quality of support. It supports us. So to experience earth element, we look at how we experience support. So support comes whenever there is contact between our body and something, or our mind in something. So yes, that's right. Elemental qualities can be experienced both in our body and in our mind. I want you to be curious about this, please. Wonderful. So if we go to a point of touch, so if I touch my hands together now, you can try this. Touch your hands lightly together. Can you notice the softness of that touch? You can. Now gradually increase the pressure of your hands. Notice that softness gradually becomes harder. At the end, we feel hardness. Now, as you slowly release your hands, hardness turns back into softness. Earth element as an experience is always at a point of contact, a point of touch. And it's experienced as a range of softness to hardness. Yeah? So if you're sitting here right now, notice where your buttocks touches the chair or the floor. There are other experiences there, such as warmth. But can you notice as distinct experiences hardness? If you can, silently use a label, hard, hard. As you say the second label, feel, experience, taste that hardness. Now see near that hardness if you can experience softness. Soft, soft. Notice that softness is a distinct experience from hardness. And anywhere in your body that's touching something, such as your hands touching your legs, your lips touching each other, you can feel a range of softness to hardness. That's earth element. That's what we're concerned with as an insight meditator. That hardness and softness is a grounding point for awareness. It grounds us to present experience. And you can feel this as you walk about during the day. You can feel this as you feel the handle of a door, a pen or a phone in your hand. That contact, that hardness, that softness, a grounding point. Water element. I find water element really interesting. I often see on the internet, and I've heard many Dhamma talks, it said that water element can't be experienced. But I'm curious. So through investigation, I found that water element can be experienced quite clearly within our body and within our mind. If you bring your awareness to your mouth now and feel saliva, swirl it round and feel the wetness of that. Elsewhere in your mouth, you might be able to notice dryness. I can feel dryness in the back of my throat, dryness on my lips. Dryness is a really strange experience. We often try to escape from dryness. We want to moisturize it, make it go away. Now gradually just slowly open and close your mouth. And especially be felt around your tongue or in your lips. Notice that stickiness, that cohesion. So water element is a range of wetness to dry and stickiness cohesion. So we can understand the quality of water as binding or unifying or bringing together. So if we have flour, the flour falls apart. If we add water to it, it starts to bind, to hold together. You put too much water, it completely falls apart again. And it's that cohesion, that stickiness of the water element that's really important. I can remember my wife and I at Blue Mountains Insight Meditation Center, when we were managers there, walking in the kitchen with our feet on the floor, lifting them up and down slowly, really interested in the stickiness, the cohesion. Why? Have you ever noticed your mind become stuck within a thought, within a fantasy? As you ever notice the stickiness of your mind when it gets angry or when it really longs for something? Attention goes to that object and it sticks to it. That stickiness that you feel is water element. And what Vipassana meditation does is it dries out the water element. As one teacher, a friend of ours, said, creates a Teflon mind, nothing sticks. So Vipassana dries out the mind, and it also dries out the heart. If we're not careful with dry insight, we can actually become indifferent to everyone and everything around us. So we cultivate wholesome qualities, loving kindness, compassion, gratitude, joy for others' success, generosity. And these wholesome qualities have a wet quality to them. They stick, they combine. But it's an unattached stickiness, an unattached binding. So we can find water element in our body and the mind. We can also find earth element, as we mentioned, in our mind. The hardness of your mind when you're angry. The hardness, the rigidity. The hardness of your mind when you're taking a stance on an idea or an opinion. The softness in your mind when there's love present, when there's caring, when there's kindness. Hence the understanding of the MIDL skill of softening. Softening is a transition between the hardness of resistance to the softness of acceptance. It's concerned with the quality of earth element. Now we move on to fire element. What's the quality of fire? Does anyone know? Temperature? So if there is no fire, we might be cool. We start a fire, it gradually gets warm. We start to feel warmer. When it's really burning, we feel hot. As the fire goes out and runs out of fuel, we gradually become cool again. So fire element is the experience of a range of coolness to warm to hot. It's that temperature element. So if you look in your body right now, it's summer in Australia, so I can feel warmth in my body. Can you feel that warmth? Yeah? In some other places of my body, I can feel coolness. And warmth and coolness, if we look at them, they kind of dance and flow into each other. It's really interesting. Where there's warmth, there's coolness. Where there's coolness, there's warmth. If I touch the carpet in front of me, I feel coolness. I feel softness. I think the floor is a little bit dirty, so I do feel a bit of stickiness there. It needs a wash. So we can see those elements when we touch the floor. When I touch this piece of paper here, I feel coolness. I can feel some warmth. I can definitely feel stickiness to the page as I move my hand, but it feels harder. It doesn't feel as soft as the carpet. So we can see our mind is using these elemental qualities all the time to make judgments. So fire element, a range of coolness to warm to hot. So we use the anger analogy. When we're angry, our mind is hot. is hot, it becomes burning, it's not cooling. So nibbana is the very cooling of that fire, cooling of that temperature, that heat. The last element is wind element, or last elemental quality. How do we experience wind element? Well, how do we experience wind? If you walk outside now, how do you know whether there's wind present or not? Because things are moving? Yeah, movement. So I feel the movement of air on my skin. I see movement in the plants and trees around me. If there's no movement, I would say there's no wind. If there's movement, I'd say there's wind. So wind element is the quality or experience of movement. Moving my arm, not only are there the other elemental qualities, but I can feel the movement of that. Wind element is very important, like water element is with the cohesion. If we look as Vipassana meditators, insight meditators, most meditation systems use mindfulness of breathing as the primary meditation object. And the question is, why? So they're actually using wind element, that movement of the breathing. And of course, we're not concerned with breathing during mindfulness of breathing. We're concerned with the experience of movement and the other elemental qualities within it. Actually, all 4 elemental qualities can be experienced during mindfulness of breathing. So why are we concerned with movement as an object of meditation? And we do that in walking meditation too. Anicca, yes, because it's within movement that we observe anicca, impermanence and unreliability. And it's also within movement that we can actually, and change, that we can observe anatta, the not self, the autonomous nature of things. If wind element is not present, we cannot observe anicca or anatta. So if we consider the development of samatha, mindfulness of breathing, the calm, tranquility, what we're doing is gradually calming wind element. Now, wind element is associated with time. It's also associated with short-term memory, the aspect of mindfulness, of remembering what we experience now, what we just experienced, and the series of experiences before that. So as we develop samatha and the samadhi starts to grow, the mind starts to become unified, wind element starts to calm down. The perception of time ends, and we have a stable experience that seems permanent, that seems unchanging, or might be very subtly changing. So samatha calms the wind element. And the development of access, concentration and jhana, wind element gradually comes to an end. That experience of movement. So for insight, we actually need wind element to be present. It's only through observing movement, through observing with clear comprehension change over time, that we can develop insight into the 3 characteristics. That we can develop insight into anicca as impermanence, unreliability, dukkha as suffering, as the suffering that comes when we grasp onto that which is impermanent, and anatta, the autonomous nature of the mind, of the body, of the heart. So in our attention, we know how to experience wind element in our body. How do we experience it in the mind? You're sitting practicing mindfulness of breathing and your attention wanders. That wandering of your attention is wind element. To use that anger analogy, when you're angry, your attention moves to what you're angry about, be that a person, a situation, a thought, and it moves towards it again and again. your attention applies towards that. That application, that movement, is wind element. When your attention reaches that, it sticks to and becomes stuck to. It's very hard to remove from what you're angry at. That is the water element. As your attention rests there, it starts to tighten up and becomes hard and rigid. You can't hear anything that anyone says. Yeah? That's the earth element in anger. And your mind starts to become hot. You start to rage, your mind, your body become hot and agitated, wind element, don't they? Yeah. And then as the anger grows into rage, your mind might become cool, and it's in becoming cool that you become very dangerous. This is when all empathy ceases. Yeah? So we can see those four elemental qualities in anger, but we can see those four elemental qualities in everything, in the experience of anger in your body, the experience of anger in your mind. You can see in the experience of anger as a quality of heart. But this also applies to the wholesome. You can do the same thing with loving kindness, with metta. Yeah? You can see that your mind goes to the object of metta, yeah, that you're sending out, that object of caring. It rests, it applies again and again to it. That's the wind element. You can see metta also has a stickiness to it, but it's a stickiness without clinging and dukkha. Yeah? So it stays there. But the difference is your mind becomes soft, it becomes pliable. Yeah? And the mind is cooled. It doesn't become hot, it's cooled, it's calmed. Yeah. So we can observe these four elemental qualities in everything. So I encourage you, in your MIDL practice, and if you follow different systems of Satipatthana Vipassana, of insight meditation, I encourage you to bring the elemental practice into that as well. From the very beginning of MIDL, when we're learning relaxation in our body, we're becoming intimate with these elemental qualities in our body. When we're developing relaxation of our mind in meditation too, we're also feeling and relaxing those elemental qualities within our mind. The hardness, the tightness, the tension, calming the wandering of the mind. Yeah? Can you see? As you come into mindful presence, the elemental qualities throughout your body will become obvious to you. And then we continue to move that on into mindfulness of breathing. And also we use our intimacy with and understanding of these elemental qualities as a grounding point for our awareness of mindfulness of body in daily life. It's not the body we're being mindful of, it's the body experience. It's those four elemental qualities. Wonderful. And when you find that your mind starts to attach to something through attraction, or resist something through aversion in daily life, these elemental qualities will change. And we call those changes emotions. Wonderful. So if we start to pull things apart, as I mentioned in the beginning, you break down your emotions into these elemental qualities. You break down the experience of your body into elemental qualities. You break down the experience of your mind into these elemental qualities. All identification, all grasping of the mind and the heart drops away. And now we have a meditation path. It's a very small teaching in the Satipatthana Sutta, but for me, it's a teaching that goes through, permeates, summarizes the whole of the teaching. Thank you for everyone for sharing with me today. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, okay? And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.